On this episode, as me and Neal Driscoll dive fin too deep, the Packers GM, he came out and said that they expect to lose Malik Willis in free agency. Could that be to the Miami Dolphins? We will discuss that and a whole lot more. Do me the favor, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this one.
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through for this episode. It's been a while. We actually haven't been up here since Jeff Hafley was hired together, so we will discuss all of that in detail. Shout out to each and every one of you coming through in the chat. Shout out to Matthew Goated. He says the legend with a salute. And shout out to all of you. Hit the like button and the Dolphins will go to the Super Bowl soon. There you go. Yeah, we hope so. You good, Neal? Technical difficulties, obviously. Why not on the first time we come back? Coming through the chat, best thing to do is to draft. Let's see. Best thing to do going. Let's fix this all up right there. The best thing to do going to draft is trade down, late first pick, another early second, so 6 picks in the top. Brother, we gotta work on the grammar here and put in that sentence together properly. Okay. I like that's all over the place. The best thing to do going to draft is no. I'll tell you right now, I really want Sonny Styles, and I would trade back. You know, I think right now, I'll tell you right now, this is, and then we'll get to Neal's thoughts and everything here. This is what I'd be doing right now. Okay. I mean, Neal can attest to this. I see the Ty Simpson at 11 rumblings are starting. How long have I been talking about this from this channel? Like since before we hired Hafley, I've been talking about this. So anyways, I would be picking up that steam to try and trade that pick. My whole angle would be you don't want him falling to the Rams because the Rams will take him at 13. So I'd be trying to garner interest in Ty Simpson, but we'll talk about the QB2 situation in a bit here. Neal, we're all fixed. We're all good. So, hey man, speaking of Jeff Hafley, we have not spoken live to the people since we hired Jeff Hafley. What are your thoughts on the Jeff Hafley hire? We'll start there following the John Eric Sullivan hire.
Yeah, man. Nice to be back. A little bit of time away, Costa Rica. If you ever need a vacation, go to Papagayo and stay at the Four Seasons there. It's freaking magical. But I actually made my wife wait to go to the beach one day to actually watch the Hafley introductory presser. That's when you married a Dolphins fan. That's what you got to deal with. And I'll be honest, like we made it very well known on this show. We were big John Harbaugh advocates, and we both wanted head coach that had a lot of experience. So if I got up here and told you that Jeff Hafley was my first choice, I'd be lying to you. He wasn't probably in my top 5, if I'm being blunt.
Yeah.
But I will say that he absolutely knocked my socks off at his introductory presser. I've seen those pressers, and I've walked away like, what did we get ourselves in? Cam Cameron rings a bell. Adam Gase rings a bell to me. That seemed like a guy that had command, and I think that matters. Nothing matters until we get in the win-loss record, right? Like it doesn't. But what I do like is he has alignment with the general manager, right? And I think John Eric Sullivan was a home run GM hire. He's got to prove it. And I can't give him, I can't sit there and give the Dolphins kudos for making him their head coach. I know this. If he didn't get the Dolphins job that day, he was going to get a job the next day. He had 4 teams that were chasing him down. I have to give him a chance at this point to see what happens. My only real concern really is what does the roster look like, and can he stomach and survive an Aaron Glenn-esque season, right? Like if the Dolphins talent pool has to be revamped because of the salary cap and stuff that we'll talk about in a little bit, like, you know, it's instant gratification. Like, I hate to say this because everyone wants to win, right? Like, we all want to find ways to be a playoff team next year. I almost think that his job and Eric Sullivan's job year one is to be as competitive as possible, despite the fact that we're going to eat $100 million contract and we're going to probably get rid of a lot of veterans on this team. And what I'm excited to see is what he does for young players' development. Like, I'd argue Chop Robinson was one of the most disappointing players on the roster last year. I'd like to see what he can do with guys like him, Kenny Grant, Jordan Phillips, the younger guys on this defense. Because I think that, you know, what I'm expecting is this defense to play at the level it ended the season with last season, probably with less talent. But I think this team has a calmness to them that they didn't have with a Mike McDaniel. Like, the ship was rocky. We all knew it. We weren't getting results. I think if we're patient, the Eric Sullivan Hafley combination can pay dividends. But as a fan base, one thing that we can do to help that cause is to have realistic expectations out of the gate. People that I respect, you know, I've seen lists that have him as the 10th best hire, and I've seen lists that have him as the 3rd best hire. A lot of this, you can't rank any of this shit, right? Like, it's all nonsense at this point. But a lot of people I respect in the business, or people that I've talked to outside the business, have a lot of respect for Jeff Hafley. So I didn't get the guy I wanted, but I'd be lying if I said that after going through his presser, I left pretty motivated with him as our head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it seems like, and I've talked about this because it's something we've been talking about for a few years on this channel. We've been looking for that proper blend between what Flores was and McDaniel was, and he comes off like a guy that might be a little bit of that. You know, he seems no nonsense, stern, all about his business, especially when the pads come on. But on top of that, you know, you hear people who talk about Hafley. You hear Hafley talks about it and stresses it himself. His ability to connect with players, right? You hear former players who worked with him talk about how much they like him and stuff like that. And that's what everyone originally liked about Mike McDaniel before the whole shtick kind of grewled with us, right? They liked we all thought, okay, well, this is the opposite of Flores. He's going to have an ability to connect. And Hafley does come off like no nonsense. Now, I quickly pivot here for a sec. Your thoughts on Mike McDaniel to the Chargers?
Look, for the Chargers, I think it's a good hire. And it's funny, you know, we know their social media team has a lot of fun. We know the quarterback there. It's one of those things that it feels like as Dolphin fans, we always get Bobby Dobeck and whatever going home and we get our faces rubbed in the white dog shit and Step Brothers. Like, whenever something happens to like, it always comes back to us, right? Like, it always comes back and gets us. I think we're going to get to see how much of an offensive genius Mike McDaniel really is, right? He's going to have bookend tackles. A first-round running back. He's got Justin Herbert. You know, I'll say this, though. I will say, in watching his presser, it does seem like losing the Dolphins job really hurt him. I see a kind of defeated guy. And, like, not to say he won't be a good offensive coordinator, but it's interesting, right? Like, that's one spot now that, like, if Herbert takes the next level, we're going to hear about how. Like,
if they win a playoff game, he'll get a job. But that's the thing. He'll get a job in one. If they make the playoffs and win a playoff game, McDaniel will be gone after 1 year. But what's crazy thing is, look at this, Neal. Now he's learning how to head coach under John Harbaugh. He already learned out of Kyle Shanahan. Now he's learning under Harbaugh. That's pretty big. Like, if there's anyone you're going to learn to be a leader of men under, is there a better option than Harbaugh?
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that with the coaching tree that Jim Harbaugh had with Michigan and obviously being in the league, San Francisco, and his brother being in Baltimore, he went with somewhere where he had no real layered connection. And that tells me that he thinks very highly of Mike McDaniel.
Well, the whole league does. I mean, what was one of the things that was holding Ross back from firing him on Black Monday? People were in his ear telling him he is going to be one of the top second chance coach candidates out on the market. He is going to get legitimate head coaching interviews, and he's going to be the top sought coordinator. Can I be honest with you? I know we didn't like how he was in front of a podium, but my, what a stark contrast from him hitting the open market to when Flores got fired and hit the open market. It tells you what the NFL thinks of those two guys. Totally different. Different.
The league turned over 25% of its coaches or more again in 2 of the last 3 years. And Flores gets interviews and doesn't get the deal. Anthony Weaver.
And it seems like Anthony Weaver's way closer, though. It does seem like Weaver's closer. And
it just sucks because you know what? He'll get it next year when we don't get the comp picks. It's just how that's how it works. I think the Dolphins purposely staggered.
They were waiting. They were waiting.
And it was smart business. But real quick, back to Hafley. One thing I will say is that what makes somebody, I think, a really good coach is how they communicate their knowledge of a task, right? Like in sports. Like I think Jeff Hafley is a very good football mind. And what I get excited about when I see him is I think he's a great communicator. Like I keep going to this presser, man, but like I watched that thing in totality. And like I thought Eric Sullivan did a very good job too. And I'm not one of those guys that like you're soft if you cry. Like these guys just went and achieved forever money for their families and got their dream jobs, man. Like, I don't know what that's like, so I don't know if I'd cry, but I have to imagine it's a pretty damn good feeling, right? Because I definitely shed some tears when the Caps won the cup. Like, it's awesome to reach the pinnacle of something you do, but like neither of those guys seemed like weak guys. Like they seemed like I really felt a synergy between them, right? And we've talked on this show for years about the lack of synergy between the coach and GM. And I thought it was one of the biggest obstacles they had as an organization. They've immediately solved that.
Yeah.
Now, they have to be better evaluators and better drafters and better developers. And everything they said in that mic, both of them that day, was about draft, develop, retain, which is what we've been saying. It's what the Eagles do, the Ravens do, the Chiefs do. It's what the best teams do. And everyone says it. You got to remain on that path. That's why I'm okay if next year sucks if we are drafting and developing.
Yeah, and look at when a team like the Packers become active. When a generational talent like Micah Parsons comes on the market, they're not trading away a draft and all these picks and giving all this money away to a Bradley Chubb. That's not their style. You've got to be like a legitimate like that's when you'll see them now enter a market. And can I say this to you, Neal? You're talking about, you like what you heard. My. Quite the difference when the GM isn't condescending and talking down to us on things like the offensive line, and it's not 1,000 uhs and ums and finger pointing from the head coach, huh?
Yeah,
what a breath of fresh air.
And I think the Dolphins knew they were out of the Harbaugh sweepstakes pretty quickly.
And after the preliminary discussion, they
went to Troy Aikman and said, "You get us the best GM," and they did. I think they got one of the best GMs on the market.
Yeah.
And I think if I trust the GM, which I do, I have to trust who he's going to marry himself to as a coach.
Yeah.
And it might blow up. And I don't like that. It's 7 consecutive hires. That's a first-time NFL head coach. I think with Hafley, it's a little bit different because he has coached as a head coach at the collegiate level. It's not apples to apples. I know that. But I do think that he brings something where he is a strong communicator to the table. Yeah. And I think that is something that we have lacked. This is not going to be Camp Cream Puff. This isn't going to be a resort. This is going to be a football organization. And if they can maintain that standard, in 2 to 3 years, the Miami Dolphins are going to be a much better franchise than they are right now.
So what do you think about the coordinator hires? Obviously, Sean Duggan. We know it's Frank Smith, just the defensive side, because what is Hafley doing? He's the defensive Kyle Shanahan, where they bring their coordinators for their side of the ball. They'll game plan, they'll install, they'll be involved all offseason, but come game day, they call their side of the ball. Shanahan play calls on offense. Hafley's going to play call on defense. LaFleur did it in Green Bay. They all do it, McVay, etc. What are your thoughts on the Duggan hire? as he's kind of a placeholder? And then what are your thoughts on Bobby Slowick now being promoted to offensive coordinator after really being brought here by Mike McDaniel last year, because there was tension between McDaniel and Bevel. And what a lot of people don't know, unless you're a Patreon or channel member, he was brought here basically as stay in line or you're going to lose your job and Slowick's going to take it from you. That's why you saw Slowick come out and talk about Quinn Ewers near the end of the season and not Darrell Bevel under McDaniel. So he was brought here as an intimidation factor of sorts and a potential replacement for Darrell Bevel. And now it's Bobby Slowick is the offensive coordinator.
Right. And look, people are throwing this moniker that we're the Packers of the South. And if that's an insult, I like it. Give me that insult. Because
Miami Packers?
That's a top 5 organization in football consistently year after year. So if that's what we're building, and I'll be honest, I love that Hafley's going to be calling the defense. I love that. Look at both teams in the Super Bowl, right? Look what their coaches are bringing to the table, right? They are calling their defenses. So I like that. Duggan, I don't know much about him, so I'd be lying if I said it. But, again, if we're Green Bay South.
He's been with him since Ohio State. He was an assistant. Then he was a linebackers coach at Boston with him. And then he eventually became the co-defensive coordinator at Boston College with him. So he knows his defense like the back of his hand, and he's followed him everywhere, basically.
Right. I love the defensive back situation. And
Downer's a good coach.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good hire.
Special teams hire is good. Chris Tabor.
Yeah, I think, and thank God, because I think this is a team that special teams has haunted us year after year.
Well, it got better under Ackerman.
It did.
Ackerman or whatever.
It did. Yeah. And I saw Danny Crossman went to Pittsburgh, and I was like, oh, man, poor Steelers fans. But Bobby Slowick was a guy that I actually had in my top 15 list of head coaching candidates. And one of the reasons I did is I thought that he was a very good offensive coordinator, and I understand that he had his – I thought that he should have got a shot to call the plays to let Mike McDaniel focus a little bit more as a coach. And I like what he said at his presser about borrowing some of the, the fundamentals from what Mike does, but putting his own spin on it. I like how he kind of put that out there.
Seems like he wants to be more physical than Mike was.
Right. And I think it's sticking to what made football naturally, right?
Yeah.
You got to get careful with being too innovative, right? And you don't want to be not innovative. You're not innovating, you're becoming a dinosaur. But there's also a time when it's 3rd and 1 and throwing flies. Yeah, you can't.
You got to get those 3rd and 1s even when the defense knows they're coming, man. And the problem was you got to be able to convert those, and we couldn't even convert them 10% of the time.
Right. So it's a B minus at worst for me. I like what they did. Sure. A lot of times you want to see somebody that's been a head coach somewhere, and it makes you feel good at night. But I don't know, man. It seems like the game's evolving where, the names that we know from yesteryear are kind of going away, right? And a lot of retreads don't work. Let's look at Steve Wilkes, for example, and for the Jets this year. It was horrific, right? And he was a head coach. I like it, and I know one name you want to talk about who was going to be the quarterback coach. I'm actually happy that did not work out, to be honest, because I saw what he did to the Jets organization after getting Aaron Rodgers, and that quarterback coach is going to be interested. I saw you tweet this, and I kind of wish it could happen, that there was a world where we could just keep Darrell Bevel. I think that would be fun. I guess he's getting a sniff maybe for the Jets.
No, he was supposed to be the offensive. He was interviewing for the offensive coordinator job.
Yeah,
Frank Reich got it.
I thought it was someone that I know that's a Jets fan told me that if he didn't get it, that he would go under Frank. But I don't know. But I would like to keep Bevel personally. But
they might pivot now. Might pivot now, right? So let's just talk about this quick. Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett has taken the job in Arizona. He's the offensive coordinator under Mike LaFleur, which is funny because he replaced Mike LaFleur in New York.
Right.
And let me just tell you this, okay? I didn't want Hackett here, and I'll tell you what my thoughts were on this.
Me either.
Okay, my whole thing was we are in a position as a franchise right now where we don't have our franchise quarterback.
Nope.
And you look at this draft, and you look at how thin this draft is right now.
Right.
At the quarterback position, right? And then you look at the open market and you look at Aaron Rodgers and other guys. Like it's not good. So my whole thing is like, if you're going to draft, let's talk about day, 2-ish, 3 guys. Okay. So I mean like the Taylor Greens, the Cole Paytons, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about that crop. The problem with those guys, or a guy like you liked at one point, Drew Aller.
Right.
The problem with these guys is they're toolsy and they have traits, but they need so much development from the pocket, whether it's mechanically, from the footwork to the release, et cetera, et cetera. They need so much work that this isn't your standard quarterback coach hire. Like, this isn't like when you hire a guy and you've already know who your franchise quarterback is and it's been established for 2 years. We are in a position where if you are drafting someone this year and their name isn't Fernando Mendoza, you are in a developmental stage. You look at some of the guys that are out there on free agency, it's a developmental stage. So Nathaniel Hackett would have had a job that would have had a big hand in developing whoever the next guy was this year, because you need to get this guy in the next 730 days or 2 years. So then that falls into, okay, well, here's the other issue. If you lock into him this year, okay, that tells me 2 things. Number one, he's going to be around for the next 730 days. And number 2, if let's say we're good in year 1 and the offense pops, who do you think is going to replace him as the offensive coordinator in the pipeline Hafley is creating on offense? It's going to be Nathaniel Hackett. I would have said the same thing if they would have brought a guy like Luke Getsy over, who has former OC background. I would have said the exact same thing. You could tell the pipeline Hafley was setting up. Okay, if it goes well with Slowick, Hackett's the next man up. He's going to be my OC. But we got beat to the punch. My whole thing was, especially if you're going to draft specifically a Taylor Green, a Cole Payton, a Drew Aller, one of these guys who's toolsy and traits, you need a guy who can develop. And this guy has not had anything good outside of, 3 years with Aaron Rodgers, who had already won a Super Bowl and a league MVP before he even arrived, other than Blake Bortles' playoff run with the Jags that 1 year. Other than that, what did E.J. Manuel account for under Nathaniel Hackett? What did all those Bills quarterbacks get? Oh, nothing worked out.
What happened in Denver?
What happened in Denver? Well, and then how did the Jets situation go on a second go around with the Rodgers? And I also thought another factor here. I thought Nathaniel Hackett might have been brought here and they were going to try and lure Aaron for 1 year as a bridge. Dude, I honestly thought that was a plan. Because remember, John Eric Sullivan was part of the hive mind that drafted him.
That might be the one thing that causes me to not watch Dolphins football for a year, to be honest. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. But
he can still sling it, though. I'll give him that much.
He can. And
if we have Aaron Rodgers last year, Neal, do we make the playoffs? Because it was Aaron Rodgers bad? Or have we now officially learned that Arthur Smith's offense is outdated? Didn't work there, didn't work in Atlanta, stopped working in Tennessee. Is Aaron Rodgers the product of a bad year or a bad offense under Arthur Smith that's outdated?
I think he ends up in Minnesota, and I don't know why. I just always have felt
that would be. Kevin O'Connell wanted him last year.
Yeah, I could see him going there.
Yeah, because you know what's going on over there over JJ, right?
Yeah, they know. Yeah. They have buyer's remorse already.
And you know who's in the background? Hoping. Herbert, you better start winning playoff games, or John's going to say, hey, another man's trash is my treasure. He knows what I want and how to run an offense. Give me JJ.
Watch Justin Herbert be the 2028 starter of the Miami Dolphins. You talk about. But no, I think it's okay to admit this. I don't think the Miami Dolphins are ready for a franchise quarterback just yet. And rather than draft a developmental guy this year, when you know what the next year's class looks like, I think Quinn Ewers showed enough to at least be at the table. And I'll be honest, I'd rather see Quinn Ewers than a Taylor Green here. I'd rather see Quinn Ewers rather than a Drew Aller, because I'll be honest, I think where the Dolphins are, that first, that second, and those 3/3 have to go to guys that are going to play meaningful snaps. The secondary, a receiver, they got to go find a guard, I think a pass rusher. I think they have too many needs to take a luxury pick on a flyer. Now, look, round 5, you want to take a quarterback and see if you can develop them, because we're the Packers South and we're going to take quarterbacks every year now. Okay, I don't mind that. But I think the Dolphins should recalibrate, get the cap organized, take the hit for Tua, get rid of expiring or veteran contracts, the guys that aren't going to be here. And it might be a little uglier than we want it to be next year, but I think sometimes to take that step forward, you got to take a step back. And I think that they have to do that this year. But, I mean, dude, I think Quinn played pretty above average down the stretch.
No, I agree.
And I just think you and I have talked about this. I think I love next year's quarterback class. This one's like a C minus. Next year's like an A. Like, be patient.
If they all come out. Yeah.
Don't put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Like, wait, be patient, strike when the time's right. I mean, like, this year to me is getting out of that contract with Tua. Like, that is the big win for them financially, because we're like, what that does for next year's cap situation is unbelievable, right? So it's like you gotta start. You gotta take some of the lumps.
Doing this cap disaster right now. So let me ask you this: sticking with the draft, who's your QB2? Because I got, listen, I think if he was 6'3" or over, everyone would have Chambliss as the foregone conclusion. I said this last year with Shuck. Remember what I said about Shuck? You remember the Shedeur hive came for me. Remember what I said? And on that tweet, and they just were coming for me, was if it wasn't for his age and injury history, everyone would have Shuck over Shedeur. And we saw how that play out. I think Chambliss is QB2 over Ty Simpson right now. You know what scares me, Neal? He is in that 15 starts or less. Now, let me tell you this. Let me set the table. Since 2012, can you name the 3 quarterbacks that have been drafted in the first round with 15 starts or less?
Oh, man.
You ready for this list?
Yeah, give it to me. It's bad. I know that.
Mitch Trubisky.
Yep.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I knew Richardson.
You ready for this one?
That's the one I could have got.
Dwayne Haskins.
Oof, yeah, that's bad.
And let's be honest, you watched him. Dwayne Haskins, when he wasn't under pressure, much cleaner prospect from the pocket than Ty Simpson is coming out this year. No?
100%. Look, I don't even care who the quarterback 2 is, because I don't want him, right? Like, I would say, like, I like Chambliss, but I am worried about his size. And look, I think his heart was going back to Mississippi, right? And that to me, like, so I would I give Ty Simpson the edge. Like, I don't love, like, if Ty Simpson's a guy that you took, and I don't think the Dolphins should do it, but in the round 2 area and you develop him, it's one thing. I think that the one thing he has is he is a coach's son. Like, football is very important to him. He doesn't have enough starts though, man. And like, someone I trust told me that they thought he could be this year's Bo Nix, and I just don't see that. Like, I'll be honest, I'd be furious if we took Ty Simpson at 11.
Listen, the first half of the season, the footwork was phenomenal, some of the best in the class, but he just hit that cliff. And I'll say this about Chambliss. Chambliss won a Division II national championship at Ferris State, okay? Then he comes to Ole Miss. That program could have rolled on its back after Lane Kiffin left. And look at the fight that kid was putting up in the playoffs.
He was awesome.
Size be damned. He showed poise and winner's DNA. Ty Simpson hasn't shown yet. And that kind of crap translates to the NFL. So to me, Chambliss is the more pro-ready prospect. If he had Ty Simpson's size, we'd probably be cooking with fish grease a little bit here. But I agree with you. I don't care if they take a developmental guy on day 3.
Yeah, me either. Day 3.
I mean, look what someone asked. Is Quinn Ewers better than Ty Simpson in your guys' opinion? And I go back to what you were saying earlier. I mean, look at the sample size we got from Quinn. And I always go back to this. Shedeur just made the Pro Bowl, right? Right. Let's talk about the Browns, okay? Can you name a throw Shedeur made this year that was better than Quinn Ewers' 40-yard bomb up the left sideline to D. Eskridge against the Browns when he stood in the pocket and took that big hit? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I can't.
And Quinn Ewers flashed for halves where you're like, yo, this kid's okay. We got, like, first half against Cincinnati, flashed. You know what I mean?
Right.
You saw stuff, right? Like, you saw stuff on that 3-game stretch where you're like, oh, this is impressive. Flash against New England for a little bit. and then he just couldn't put full games together. What, 2 out of the 3 games he just couldn't put a full game together, right?
Right. I there's no part of me that thinks Quinn Ewers is the long-term answer here, but no. I think he's more than adequate to be the bridge guy to the future. Are you finding? I think Taylon Green and Cole Payton, sure, are the ceilings higher, much higher? Yeah, but they're far bigger projects right now than Quinn Ewers is. Right, and I'm just going to say this before we get to it, because I know everyone's going to be on this march for Arch and Arch Manning. Yeah. I would take Arch Manning over any quarterback in next year's class. I will say that, but I by no means want the Dolphins to be this year's version of the Jets. It is embarrassing to be that type of football and have that standard. I would not. The thing. I'm not going to sit here and pray for 0-17.
No,
like that. I want them to win games. I want Jeff Hafley not to be Aaron Glenn.
This comes back to this year. This is why, listen, if you put a gun to my head right now and said, Reason, I want your top 3 options at 11, okay? And Ruben Bain and Caleb Downs don't make it, and David Bailey doesn't make it, because those would be probably 3 of my top options. But Moe Noah, 110%. I want Moe Noah. But another one of those 3 options I would say is trading back a little bit, getting more capital, and taking Sonny Styles. And I want to keep building capital. And I've talked about this. Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Sam Levitt after being under Lane Kiffin at LSU this upcoming season. Lenore Sellers another year. Jordan Maiava, whoever everyone's all of a sudden sleeping on, who's going to be another year under Lincoln Riley, who just pumps out quarterbacks. Brendan Sorsby, who is already going to go in the first round over traits, who's transferred to a better program. Darian Mensah, who's now was balling out, and now he's going to the U, and the Hurricane fans are going to fall in love with him. You know, what if Julian Sain or CJ Carr declares, or CJ Bailey from NC State declares? My point is, you list all those names. There are legitimately 5 guys that could go in the first round next year if everything falls in place. And the thing is, 4 of those guys could easily be franchise quarterbacks. My point is, you don't need the number 1 pick necessarily next year. You just need to be in range of getting one of those top 4 or 5 guys in this class coming out, and you got a damn good shot. So you can go and afford to win games. My whole point is you can afford to win games, but if you do win a little bit more than expected, stack the capital so you can move up if you need to.
Yeah, and look, that's a great exercise. The 3 guys you would take at that pick if it did. I'll be honest. One of the things that I heard actually coming out of the Senior Bowl was that a lot of people think that Caleb Downs really is going to fall out of the top 10. And he's the guy. If he's on the board at 11, you don't hesitate. You do not hesitate. That is Kyle Hamilton 2.0 in our defense. But I think Mauanoa is literally what this team
He's not going to get to us.
I don't think he will. And see, I don't trade. I would take Sonny Styles in a second. He's my 3rd player. I think he's better than Arvell Reese.
But if you could trade back a little bit to get someone to come up from Ty Simpson and jump for the Rams and still get Sonny Styles, that's the ultimate freaking win. But I agree. Sonny Styles is a top 12 player in this draft, arguably a top 10 player in this draft.
Hot take. I think he's going to go to the Giants at 5. I think Harbaugh wants his captain, Sonny Styles. That's going to be my hot take.
I don't know about that.
I think he wants his captain on his defense. And then, the guy that I would love for us, and he's actually outside of Mauanoa, because I do think Mauanoa solidifies. If you have Brewer, Patrick Paul, and Mauanoa, no, my guy that I want is Mansour Delaney. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that there is a physicalness and technical aspect to his game that is very Revis-esque. He is a physical dude with length.
Yeah.
I freaking love him. I'm actually thinking that he goes before Caleb Downs, and I think we're gonna have, if the team that scares me is the team right in front of us. I think the Bengals would, from Ohio State, get a Downs. But what you said is 100% right. Somebody at 11 is going to be a stud. And one guy we haven't mentioned, and it's not in our trajectory, but if his medicals check out, Jordan Tyson is
I don't think they're going to take a receiver, though. Let's go off Packers history. Are they going to take a receiver?
No. I don't think they do.
You know? So my 3rd player, so I named my 2 players earlier, right? If Bain, David Bailey, and Caleb Downs are off the board, Moe Noah, Sonny Styles, and my 3rd player is actually Jermod McCoy.
Oh, he's awesome. If he's
I've
healthy,
heard
too.
he's
Yeah,
he's
awesome.
been good to go for months. And I'm gonna say this: I love Mansour Delaney. I won't. It's not like Jahdae Barron last year. Remember, I didn't want Jahdae Barron.
No, me neither.
Remember, I wanted Will Johnson or no. I'm fine with Mansour Delaney instead of Jermod McCoy. So let me get that out of the way. I like Mansour Delaney better than I like Jahdae Barron coming out last year a whole lot. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But what I can't get over, Neal, that 2024 McCoy tape, dog.
Oh,
that is Will Johnson, future top any corner of this draft.
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of the health.
Elite.
It's just a matter of the health, right? Like, but man, I'm with you. I'm with you. Corner.
Yeah, I think that's the best value for him.
You got to cast a wide net too at where we're at and who's going to be available. You can't lock in. I've told the people you can't lock in on one person. Like another player who I'd run the card up for if he's there is David Bailey. He's my edge one.
Of course,
Ruben Bain, I would run the card up for.
Yes, of course.
Now, what if Ruben Bain and Caleb Downs are on the board?
Look, dude, I say this to people, and I don't mean it lightly. When I watch Ruben Bain, it reminds me of watching Terrell Suggs with 2-inch shorter arms. Like, that's what I see. He plays the game like Terrell Suggs because he is so violent, dude. Like,
you want to really impress me, Miami? Get Ruben Bain at 11 and turn around and somehow at the top of the second go get Messidor and set them up with Chop. That would be nasty.
Dude,
my God.
I would definitely look at Messidor in wrestling.
Oh, I don't think he's going to be there by the time we pick. I've heard him potentially sneaking into the back half of the first.
Oh, I'd watch for the freaking Buffalo Bills, man. Like, they always get the defensive guy that I want on the line.
And I got a fallback plan. Neal, if we trade back and Sonny Styles isn't there, you take Fano or a second option, first option, take Vega Ione. And you just say, okay, boom, we're done on the interior.
Vega's going to be a stud, dude.
He is.
He is the Malinois is still for me. He's better than Spencer Fano as a lineman.
Yeah, that's why I had him as number one. That's why. Both the Utah tackles should go in the first, though. I think.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna go. I think we are going to pick defense because I think
I do too.
I think it's a Hafley pick.
Yeah,
locks it. It screams Packers. Now I will say this, like. We're going to talk about cap and stuff. One rumor I heard that would intrigue me is that I've heard the Packers might be willing to part with Rashawn Gary and not for as high of a draft pick as you would think. I don't know what his contract situation looks like, but that would be intriguing.
Well, Quay Walker's a free agent.
So that on the Sonny Styles front, I think because I think the pairing of Sonny Styles
and Jordan Brooks
and the contrast of what they do, but they both play like demons. Like
and Sonny is the guy who, because Jordan Brooks don't want it, Sonny's the guy who will take the green dot.
Yeah, and he can cover.
Yeah.
And man, like I think that's just a trend. It reminds me of old school Baltimore with Ray Lewis and Bart Scott.
You know who I've heard rumblings who might follow the top 10? Arvell.
Dude, I can I say something? He's not in my top 10 players.
Which is crazy because he was a top 5 player at one point for a big stretch this year in college.
Well, you know what happened though? You know why I think
that's
Ohio
what
State?
happens. That's what happens when you are you're basically a Swiss Army. You're a Swiss Army knife, right? Like, you're a man of many traits, but a master of none.
You know who he is? He's Jalen Walker from the Falcons. That's who
I know.
Is.
You know who people are trying to say he is. People are trying to say he's Isaiah Simmons 2.0.
I mean, here's why. What if you draft him? Are you playing him off ball? You playing him on edge? You're probably putting him on the edge a little bit more.
Because even edge is a projection right now where he's at, right?
Well, you look at Ohio State's defense down the stretch, right? Sonny Styles played his tail off. Katie McDonald was awesome. Where was Arvell Reese?
Arvell Reese, yeah.
Where was he?
Yeah, you're right.
In all those big games, where was he?
Yeah.
I am not a big Reese fan. I actually would hope that like a team like the like there's guys I want to fall and guys I don't want to fall. And I do hope someone falls in love with Ty Simpson because we've always talked about this on the draft. Like where they are, the Dolphins should get somebody really good. Right?
2 months ago, he was a projected top 5 pick, though, Arvell.
Yeah. I still think he's going to go top 5.
Yeah, he's going top 10. I think he's going top 10 for sure.
Yeah, he will. Somebody will like him. I hope he goes 2 to the Jets, to be honest.
I hope Ty Simpson goes 2 to the Jets. Never mind.
God, that would be awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Malik Willis.
Very popular name, right?
Brian Gutekunst, the GM for the Packers. Okay. This was from Matt Schneidman. He covers the Packers for The Athletic, Neal.
Yep.
He said, and I quote, Gutekunst acknowledges they're probably losing Malik Willis to a team that will at least allow him to compete for a starting job. Very specific that they're naming a team that's going to allow him to compete for a starting job. Now, again, Malik Willis is a guy where, he's further along than any project that's coming out here, but we're talking about a guy who only has 155 attempts over 4 years. Now, vastly different under LaFleur and in that offense than he was in Tennessee. A guy like Vrabel's rectified that by going to the Patriots and getting Josh McDaniels, but I digress. He very dynamic the last 2 years, but he's another guy, Neal, where guess what? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he injured down the stretch this year when Green Bay needed him again?
And in that game, he had to go to the locker room, remember? And he came back out and they ended up losing the game by a possession. Yeah, look, it's intriguing. And we're the Packers of the South, and we keep joking about it.
Yeah.
I have to see the price tag. If we're really flirting with $20 million a year, I'm passing.
Agreed.
I do not want to pay big, because here's what I just said this. Don't put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Yeah. And that is exactly what you do. Now, if he's $10 million a year, is he fun to watch? And does he have upside? And did I like what I saw from him down the stretch? Sure. Absolutely. 100%. But where the Dolphins are in this cap reset, spending $10 million for a quarterback that's just really going to cost you your future quarterback by winning more games than it just doesn't make good football sense. If they go out and spend on one good core young free, let's just say Quay Walker, for example.
Okay. Yeah. $8 million.
If they sign a linebacker for $8 to $10 million that on a 4-year deal that you pair with Jordan Brooks, and is a different type of player, it makes sense to me. If they signed even a guy like Devontae Wyatt from the Packers,
what about Romeo Doubs to pair with Waddle?
Right. If they paired somebody that's got a few years here that you're not breaking the bank for, I'm in. I'm in. But I don't want them to win free agency anymore. I don't want them. I want them to sit on their hands and build that big nest egg for next year and keep building draft capital. And then what I want to do is I want to see Aaron Brewer extended, Jordan Brooks extended, Devon Achane extended. That's when you tell me you're a franchise that gets it. Aaron Brewer's in the running for that Protector of the Year award, right? He is a top 3 center in football now. You have a shit offensive line for years. You finally hit a diamond in the rough. Do not let that guy leave.
It's starting to come together. Patrick Paul too. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, Jordan Brooks, all pro, first team all pro linebacker, right? By extending those guys right now, you actually will save cap space this year. That will set you up for the future.
And you're sending a message too.
You are the captains of this team and where we're heading, right? Yeah. And that's and Devon Achane, I don't care what system you run, he's a fit for it. The guy was a top 15 player in football last year. The only reason the Dolphins were the team they were was because of him, because a lot of people let them down. I the notion
are we in the Mendoza hunt if not for Achane?
Of course. And look, Achane's young. He's actually only probably going to get better when we actually build an offensive line that can be physical. Yeah. And I also think that we'll still slow it. Coming from the McDaniels last year, we'll still get to use them creatively. So I get those deals done.
And when you build that offensive line, I think you'll get more out of Ollie and Jalen because I think you got the right guys in place already for what they want to do offensively, right?
Right. And I don't this year's free agent class sucks. And
it does.
If we haven't learned anything from the last regime, we got Brandon Albert, we got Ndamukong Suh, we got Mike Wallace. We always won the beauty pageant of free agency. But it never created to wins. Okay. You're paying maximum dollar.
But what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they are – because remember, they set up there, we have a plan.
Yeah.
What do you think they are going to do? Now, a lot of people, I honestly thought the Nathaniel Hackett hire was they were going to try and lure Aaron Rodgers here for 1 year. And they were going to say, hey, if we win, we win or not. Because remember, they traded up now is in the back end of the first, but they've traded up for Jordan Love. So it's not like they won't trade up for the right guy if he's falling to them. So I wouldn't be worried about that if we win too many games. Now, are we probably going to be in the race for Arch? No, because I think, and I've told you this, I thought this team, and I know how Moore looked in the playoffs. I don't care. I think this team makes the playoffs with Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza at the helm this year. I really honestly do by the end of the year. And I don't think the roster's that far up. Now, they got a whole bunch of holes to fill. We have no depth at tackle, offensive tackle. We have no depth at guard now with all these people leaving.
No.
We have no depth at corner.
We need receiver, edge.
We need edge.
Everything.
You know, we got a lot of needs, but I still think we have core pieces at the position of needs where it's like, okay, we need some receivers, but we still have Waddle and Malik, and Malik's turning into one of the more dynamic return men.
He's a fun, complementary player.
Britt and Gay are gone, but we still have Jordan Brooks, and they'll probably get rid of Todd. So we still have we need edges, but we still have Chop Robinson, who's a really good athlete with high upside. Okay, we don't have any nose tackle. Benito's gone. Matthew Butler's gone, but we still have Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers, and so you see where I'm going here? We still got pieces, we need the offensive line we work, but we still have Patrick Paul. We still have Aaron Brewer. And I believe with the right coaching, Jonas Savaianaya will be just fine because people try to compare him to Liam Eichenberg, and I think that's wrong on the basis of this. Liam Eichenberg in year one showed you nothing. There was no foundation where you were like, okay, there's something I can build off. Does Savaianaya have anchor issues? 110%. He needs to get man strength. But Liam Eichenberg never flashed in the run game like Jonas Savaianaya has flashed in the run game. You see a foundation, at least with Savaianaya. You never saw that with Liam Eichenberg. So was he bad? Yes. But he wasn't as bad as Liam Eichenberg. I think people are forgetting just how bad. And Liam Eichenberg gave you really no hope. He didn't show anything in pass pro. He didn't show anything in run sets. He didn't show an anchor. And you look at Jonas Savaianaya's body, and again, you look at Liam Eichenberg. Who do you think is going to fill out and has a better chance of getting stronger and gaining that anchor? Liam Eichenberg or a guy like Jonas Savaianaya? It's clearly Savaianaya, but I digress. My point is, yeah, we got holes, but we still have pieces at the positions we got major holes at where it's not just a bunch of throwaways and jabronis, right?
Yeah, and I think we're at a point where it's like the roster has so many needs at this point that the cliche of taking the best player available works here because there's nothing you could ignore. And, I don't think they should be tempted to take a wide receiver, but I think that's one of the strengths of the class in the first round, but I don't think they should because they could get somebody. But, I'm excited for the draft because I do think that we have a team that's going to draft with purpose, meaning there's intent when they're picking, who they're picking. And I think they will be bold, meaning one thing I always faulted Chris Greer for was that if he wanted somebody, he hoped they fell for him and he didn't get him. And that passive mindset's not the way you win. And so I do think they'll have a really good draft based off the capital they have, but they don't have to be the winners of free agency. But you asked what I think their plan is. I think Malik Willis is going to probably be here around $10 million. And I think he's going to probably end up being the starter of the team. And that will make it fun to watch. I just don't I think too many people are trying to make him as a savior. Yeah. Where I think
we're still an unknown.
Right. I think at best, he's Matt Moore. I think at best he's a Matt Moore type player for us. And Matt Moore ultimately is probably why we got Tannehill instead of Andrew Luck, right?
If we only win 3 or 4 games, but it's fun watching them, let's go, baby. All right.
Right. Well, but that's okay. Because my with the changing of the guard, what that did for me is it took the pressure of winning off of the immediate future.
That's another thing that kind of strikes me, Neal, as how many times in their press conference did they say that the phrase of, and we understand it's going to take time? It's almost like they were setting us up for 2026 ain't going to be pretty and it's going to be ugly, and we're purposely trying to stack the capital, which 100%. I'm 110% down for. Like, this is where I'm at. I agree with you. I think they are going to try and get Malik Willis. I think Brian Gutekunst was talking about us. I think
me too.
They all know each other. They know where we're targeting. I'm kind of going back to what we said earlier, Neal. I would just be going and getting like some veteran bridge. Draft the guy, and all you compete with Quinn. Whoever wins this year, let's see what you got. I ain't guaranteeing not a damn thing to any one of you come 2027 with that draft class. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a rollover and just take it kind of guy. So, like, for me, like, I want them to win. I know the best thing for the Dolphins is to win 2 or 3 games this year.
Yeah,
I know it. Like, I know it is.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get up on this show and sit here and root for them to
Because
win.
Not even just the first round pick, Neal. Think of what they can do with that high pick in the other rounds.
Right. Like, every year I get more and more grays, man. Like, I don't, I'm probably more than halfway through life. At the end of the day, I want to see this team win, but I'd rather than do this and build this right than try to build on a bad foundation. And I just don't want what we've seen. We see every regime that's come or new coach come in and try to build on a bad foundation. Let's get the foundation right and then build on top of a good foundation, man. Like, we have a young front office, a young coach. We have alignment. We have synergy.
Yeah.
Let's take the build. Yeah. It takes time to build it. In 2027, 2028, this Miami Dolphins team will be dangerous if they do it right. Like, I know that.
And you've heard me say the story. Back when I started out on YouTube in 2019, I said, I don't care if you draft Tua. I don't care if you draft Herbert. I don't care if you draft Burrow. I don't care if you draft Jordan Love. Build me what they have in Oakland and Indianapolis. Because remember, Quentin Nelson was in prime. Remember that Oakland line? They all hadn't aged out yet, and they were Studley. Remember that line in 2019, right? So I said, build me what they have. And now we have a regime that's actually going to probably try and do that properly. Saxman says, reason if a team offered you a first for Achane, would you take it? No. And I'll tell you why. Buddy, I'm not coming to the table unless it's at least a little bit more than what we traded for Tyreek Hill. Right now, Achane is one of the best weapons in the NFL. He is not just a running back. And he, especially for a team that wants to make a playoff run, he is a guy that can put a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. He could bring them right back to where they were a couple years ago. If Tyreek gained what he gained in terms of trade value, that's my starting point for the discussion for an Achane. I need a first round pick, multiple day 2s, and some day 3s. And I might even ask for a roster player.
Let me ask you, would you trade Achane for Kenny Grant? No. Would you trade him for Chop Robinson? No. And I like both those players. I get draft capital.
But would you trade? Okay, I'll give you better. Would you trade him for Jared Verse?
Man, that's tough.
I wouldn't.
That's tough.
I wouldn't.
But here's the reality: is he's the best player on my team. That's where I have to draw a line.
Yeah, but he's one of the best weapons in the league.
I think him and Jahmyr Gibbs are the new modern day NFL running backs.
Yeah, and then Bijan
won me a lot of money this year, so I love Bijan. But like those guys that can catch, that can make plays multiple ways, that are scheme diverse, and you draft, you developed, and hopefully you retain. Like, there's something to that, man. And like, I get that running back is deemed the throwaway position of football, but I disagree. I think the teams that win, I think it helped the Eagles get over the hump. I think it helped Baltimore get where they've been. I think James Cook has helped Josh Allen's resurgence. I think having dynamic running backs. Look, the Colts, when they were on the run with Daniel Jones, I don't think Daniel Jones overnight became.
How good was Jonathan Taylor that run?
I think Jonathan Taylor was the MVP of football through 8 weeks. Like, that's, to me, like, a good running back means that your running game is going well, and a good running game is a best friend for a quarterback. Look at Drake Maye. Drake Maye has not been sensational in the postseason. He's let his running game do the damage, and he's picked his spots, and they're in the damn Super Bowl. A running game matters.
Listen, can I say something, Neal? Because I know how much I love Drake Maye when he's coming out, right? You know, I was a Drake 100%. Guy. I remember, Neal, when people in this community scoffed when I said he's a more accurate Josh Allen coming out. We're in trouble. And Neal, you look at the playoff run. Okay, it's year 2. Do you remember year 2 with Josh Allen? He lost in the first round to Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Didn't throw a touchdown, didn't run for a touchdown. He had 2 fumbles. They lost, right? You look at Drake Maye. You look at the game. People are like, oh, he only threw 86 yards. Neal, kickers couldn't even make 30-yard field goals in those conditions, but look what he was doing. Look at on that field goal drive in the second quarter to take the lead. He converts the big third down with his legs. Right. You look at with under 2 minutes left, 3rd and 9. He converts the first down to seal the game with his legs. He, like you said, he's picking his spots and he's beating teams by picking his spots. And look and listen, have you remembered a quarterback? He's the Chargers were the 5th defense, number 5 defense. The Texans were the number 1 defense, and the Broncos were the number 3 defense. And yeah, I know he had a couple fumbles, but he threw 3 touchdowns against that Texans defense, and he looked way better than Stroud. I don't care what you're trying to tell me. Like Drake Maye, Neal, he's learning how to win in year 2, even while he makes mistakes. Watch out for this guy in year 5. He is going to be a bigger problem than Josh Allen. Neal.
Well, and sometimes the best lessons that you need to learn are right in front of you. And we have 2 of the quarterbacks in the AFC East that do this better than anyone. What have we learned when we go and select our next quarterback? They have to be able to keep drives alive with their legs.
Yeah.
Like Drake Maye's legs are the reason they're in the Super Bowl against that Denver team when he needed to make runs. That 118-yard run he made was dynamic. And when it comes to running up the middle, there's not many quarterbacks in football that are better than him. And like that is any quarterback we talk about for me on this show that we draft in 2027, they're going to have to be able to make plays with their legs at a high level. That is a non-negotiable for me in today's. It helps your offensive line. It helps everything. It helps your running game. It helps your receivers because defenses are peaking in coverage to make sure you're not taking off.
Neal.
It's a big non-negotiable for me.
If you can develop Talon as a passer, oh my.
Yeah, and that's where like in round 4 of Talon Green's there, and he might
He's not going to
be that. You think he'll go high
because of the combine.
And that one throw that he made in the Senior Bowl to Malachi Fields, man, like oh my Lord,
that's ridiculous. Great job by Malachi.
Oh, he's on my radar. Malachi Fields is on
another
my
big
radar.
guy with some speed. Had a big Senior Bowl that should be on everyone's radar. Is Reggie Virgil.
Oh yeah, I like Reggie Virgil. I like Ted Hurst from Georgia.
Ted Hurst from Georgia. Yo, that's EM loves him. EM loves him.
I do like him, man. But yeah, like that's Talon Green. That throw, I will say, was
that shows you, dude. And the footwork was not even there. That was just
natural
all
arm strength, dude. That's like all arm.
I'm telling you, Neal. Like I'm telling you, if you kept a Darrell Bevel after what he did with Russell Wilson. You telling me Talon Green wouldn't be intriguing to you in the 4th round?
Oh, of course. I think where he struggles is his processing. Like that. You need to help him
110%. He needs to get in the film room, and he needs the mechanics, and he needs mechanical work. That's what he needs.
Right. No,
like you look at Cole Payton, he needs his like release change. Like he's got this elongated release, but I like Sawyer. Sawyer's good, but he's a project. He's a former baseball thrower. He needs mechanical work because you see the baseball come out of his mechanics too much.
Yeah, I do wonder what's going to shake up this draft, though, dude. Is if the report's out that Max Crosby's going to be on the move, that has big ramifications, I think.
Yeah.
I think a team that's going to be interested is the Commanders. And if they would part with that 7th pick, that could shake up a lot, right?
Are the Dolphins interested? Because, listen, I know we want to build through the draft, and I get all that, but they made a move for Parsons, and we talked about generational pass rushers, and Max Crosby's, Myles Garrett, and Parsons are probably, the top 3, top 5 in the NFL?
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't do it. I'm just pitching it to you. I wouldn't do it.
In 2020, I was supposed to watch in Las Vegas when I was at PFN the 2020 NFL draft in a rented out room with Max Crosby and Preston Williams. That was our 2 guests.
Oh yeah,
and COVID canceled it, so I never got the opportunity.
Well, not only that, you had a certain person in the community who was blowing up the agents. Right? Okay, when they got canned from their old job, right? We won't go down there though.
God, man, time travels fast, dude.
It does, eh? Holy jeez, eh? Remember Preston Williams? That same person who's making excuses for Preston Williams' questionable decisions of why he fell in the draft. Oh my God.
Right.
Memories.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. You got a minute. Final thoughts.
Man, cap space. The news came out that the cap went out. We've been pushing that for over a year, that TV deal with Disney was going to increase the cap $30 million. We were right around that mark. It brings the Dolphins down to about $16 million under. Tyreek, Ingold, Jason Sanders, Nick Westbrook-Ikini, and Chubb. You release them, you're $24 million under the cap. You post June Austin Jackson, so you can sign your draft class with that money. It gives you about $24 million. And then the big enigma is, what do you do with Minkah Fitzpatrick? And I think Minkah is a guy that you trade and try to get another third-round pick for. Get the $6 million. You have 30 in cap space, 4 third-rounders. It's almost the most wonderful time of the year. We're 77 days away from the 2026 draft. Like, I'm dialed in. I'm putting out daily content on my positional rankings. And, like, I've really started to fine-tune all my tape. Got my rankings in order, man, and I'm fired up. Like, I was waiting for Chambliss's news yesterday, but, man, it's draft season, and that pick 11 looks kind of damn beautiful right now.
I got to see how free agency plays out, but, yeah, I'm going to start trickling out my draft stuff, but I got to see what they fill in free agency because it'll make a lot.
We're 3 weeks. Clear. 3 weeks, man. New league year, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, smash that like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. We will catch you guys on the next one. Over 350 of you in the chat. Shout out to each and every one of you guys coming through. Fins up all day, every day. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Fins up, everyone.